Hello friends, Christian here with BrickLifeCrisis, and we are back. This is a kind of an all-encompassing video. This is the second part of the review of the Death Star Gunner set that we started a little while back when we were talking about COPPA and a few other things. I also have the Advent calendars for City, Star Wars, and Harry Potter back there, so we'll take a look at a little bit of that. We'll talk a little bit about COPPA and what's changed and what hasn't changed, and we'll also talk a little bit about the status of my computer, which has been an ordeal, and thanks for sticking with me. So we'll get into all of that in just a moment. So I am going to get into the review of this set, but before we do that, today as I'm recording this, it is December 8th, and so I've got a few days worth of the Advent calendar prizes so far. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at those. Over here we have the Harry Potter stuff. Day one we got Harry Potter in a nice version with the H sweater. I think that's one that Ron's mother made for him. H could be for Harry or for Hogwarts or who knows. But we also have this nice tree with some snow on it and a star on top. There's the table with a couple of goblets. We have the micro version of the Hogwarts Express. We have Professor McGonagall and a couple of more trees with some snow. And then we have these two banners in the back, which are pretty well done, I think. So that is what we have so far, the first 7 days of the Harry Potter calendar. I haven't opened today's yet. In the city one, we had, I'm not sure what the order was, but we have that sort of log with the axe, and there's kind of a bunker kind of thing for a snowball fight, and a snowball catapult. And there's this guy here with the broom and the snow gear. We have a tree and a snow plow. I think that might have been day one. And then we have this guy with the propeller hat and a couple of chocolate chip cookies. Again, I haven't gotten to today's treat yet, but we'll get to that in just a moment. And then over here we have Star Wars. And we have a really nice representation of an X-Wing fighter, Kylo Ren's shuttle, the Resistance transport, Star Destroyer, some kind of gun emplacement with a white medium blaster, which is a kind of a new color, I think. And we have Chewbacca with a porg leg and a little fire, and then a Resistance stormtrooper. So that is the 3 Advent calendars. I didn't get the Friends one this year. I'm not so much into the Friends, and those videos don't do all that well anyway, so I decided to skip that one this year. Alright, so today's treat is behind this door right here, number 8, and it looks like a micro build of Octu Island. Let's go ahead and build it up. Well, that looks pretty good, I think. There were 3 extra parts, which is typical these days. They didn't used to give you extra parts in the Advent calendars, but for the last couple of years they have. We have the water and some, I guess, mossy land along with the rocks. I think that round plate is supposed to represent Luke's hut or something like that. But got some sand green and some dark bluish gray and blue and light bluish gray. Not a bad little representation. At least you can tell what it is, which isn't always the case, but nicely done. Let's take a look at the next Harry Potter build. Okay, again, day number 8 is over here, and this time we get turkey dinner. Let's build that up. Alright, here it is. It looks like a full roasted turkey and a plate of stuffing, or maybe that's corn, I'm not sure. But this is really cool. I haven't seen one of these turkey pieces since I got the Parisian restaurant, so that's not a very common piece anymore, so it's kind of cool to get that. Those drumsticks are removable, of course, so you can use those separately if you like. And then these are those popcorn pieces, but this time done in that kind of orangish yellow, which looks like corn or stuffing or something like that. And then of course there's a silver plate, so nicely done. Alright, and here we have day 8 of the city calendar, and that is right here, and it looks like we have some gifts. Let's go ahead and build those up. Alright, here we have the gifts. This one is just a slope piece with a green flower piece on it to represent a bow, and there's a spare of that. This one has 2 1x2 orange bricks on a 2x2 green plate with a 2x2 green jumper and an orange bow, and There's a spare of that one as well. And then we just have a purple cylinder with a white bow, and there's a spare of that also. Alright, and here we have the rest of the build for set number 75246. This set, you may recall, I started to build while we were talking about COPPA and stuff a little while back, and so here I am to finish that up. The set includes two minifigures. There's Ben Kenobi and the Death Star Gunner, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at each of them. Alright, here we have our Death Star Gunner. He's fairly well done. I like the helmet quite a bit. Some nice detail there on the side and the insignia there up on front. When you remove the helmet, he has a pretty good face with a communications headset on. The print on the torso, waist, and legs is pretty good, and he comes with a sidearm as well. There's a bit of print on the back as well. Nothing we haven't seen before, but perfectly appropriate for this set, and not a bad figure to have a duplicate of. And here we have Obi-Wan, or Ben Kenobi. This one is fairly well done. He comes with his lightsaber, of course. We take that off, you get a little bit better look at the print on the torso, which is pretty good. He has the new hood for the cape, so that it's not joined at the bottom like they used to be, so that's useful. Decent face with some beard print and some expressive eyes. He has the paper cloth cape, which they've seemed to have gone back to. I prefer the older, or the newer style, but they've gone back to the older style. The print on the back of the torso is pretty good. The cape is fine, but it is kind of wrinkly if you bend it too much, and that's the problem with the old ones. But they seem to have gone back to that in more recent sets. But pretty good figure, and again appropriate for this set, I suppose. Let's take a look at the main build. Okay, and here it is, the Death Star cannon. This is sort of two things in one, and they really don't belong together. So the first thing is the cannon itself, which is a pretty decent representation, although it's a little bit small for minifigure scale. And then over here we have the tractor beam control, where Obi-Wan turns the thing down and turns off the tractor beam so they can escape in the Millennium Falcon. So there's a nice print here for the controls, and then this little lever down here. The tractor beam itself is represented by this set of trans blue round bricks, and you turn it off by just pulling this lever, and then the tractor beam goes away. I don't remember anything like that actually happening in the movie, but for the sake of play value, I understand why they did it. My biggest problem with this section of the toy, besides the fact that it's too close to the gun, is Ben cannot actually stand on here except sideways with his face right up against the thing. So there's no room really to set up the figure to do what he's supposed to be doing. He's just kind of kissing the machine, which is unfortunate. It would be nice if you had at least an extra studs width all the way around, or made this a little bit smaller. I don't know, but it doesn't quite work for me. The other thing is, like I said, this is way too close. This piece should be off in another section of the Death Star entirely, and then the gun should be its own separate thing. Now I have to put it back together. The gun itself is pretty well done. I like the details. It can elevate up and down, and of course it rotates on the platform. There's not really a seat per se for the gunner. There's just this kind of suggestion of a seat with that plate there. I'm not sure why they didn't just use one of the seat pieces. It would have been a little better, but there's no backrest for him. It's alright, but it's not ideal. There is an integrated spring-loaded shooter right down here, so if you push up on that, it will theoretically launch. Oh, there it goes. Okay. And then there are clips on either side of the window here, one over here as well, so that you can store the ammunition if you don't want to actually have it in the gun. And it doesn't look bad without it. I mean, it works fairly well. This I'm kind of on the fence about. This green color is great. That's the color of the shot that was fired from the main gun, but this is not the main gun. This is just an artillery piece that was on the Death Star. So I think this probably should have been, a light bluish gray or something, or a dark bluish gray, either one, just to look like it's part of the cannon rather than a shot coming out of the cannon. But besides that, I think this is pretty good. Again, it'd be nice if it was a little bigger, but not bad at all. This is kind of a window, I guess, going out, not a window, but an opening that the cannon can shoot through. Presumably the walls of the Death Star are out here like this, and so this is the interior. So if you're looking at it from outside, you would see the gun like this, but it doesn't have much range of motion in here. You can go up a little bit, down a little bit, side to side just a little bit, because this opening is too small. I see what they were going for, but I don't know. I'm a little underwhelmed with this set overall. I'm glad I have it, but I don't know. I think it needs to be larger, and this section definitely needs to be much farther apart. Overall, I mean, it's a fun little set. If you don't already have a good Ben Kenobi figure, it's a good way to get him, I suppose. Same with the Death Star gunner. And there's some nice parts here, but I don't know. It doesn't offer much in the way of display value as far as I'm concerned. So this will likely get torn down and used for parts for mocks and stuff in the future. But anyway, that is the Death Star cannon, set number 75246. And finally, here is the big news. We have a replacement laptop. Getting that laptop replaced through Costco was an ordeal. Not Costco's fault. They send it out to a service center that tries to repair it, and that's a service center that they contract with. It doesn't belong to Costco. It's not Costco themselves that are trying to fix these things. You may recall that I told you before they could not fix it. I guess parts weren't available or something. So they sent me back the old laptop. It was supposed to have been overnighted. So when they told me back at the beginning of November that they were sending it back to me, I was expecting to have it by the middle of November at the very least. But I didn't get this back, or get my old machine back, until the day before Thanksgiving. Of course, they were closed on Thanksgiving, and I wasn't going to try and fight the crowds on Friday. So I went in on Saturday, took back the old machine, and they gave me a credit on my card so I could buy a new one. But it took another 3 days for that credit to show up on my account, and I didn't want to buy something until I knew that credit was there. But finally, I got this machine, which is another HP. It's a pretty decent machine. The one thing that it is lacking is an optical drive. There's no DVD or CD drive here, which I don't use that frequently anyway, and I ended up buying an external one from Best Buy. It was normally $40. It was on sale for $20, and I had $15 in reward certificates, so I got a $5 CD DVD drive for this machine for when I need it. But anyway, this machine is a 1 terabyte hard drive. It's a Intel i7. It has 16 gigs of memory and 4 gigs of dedicated video memory. So it is a bit more powerful than the machine I had before, but as I say, it does lack the internal optical drive. But that's all well and good. So far I like it. It's a nice blue color, and it's treated me well so far. It's relatively quick. It has a 1 terabyte drive, a regular hard drive, so I will probably end up swapping it with the solid state drive that I bought recently to give me more storage and a little bit quicker response. But for now, I'm just getting it up and running and through its paces. We've just recently loaded the Adobe software on here, so we should be able to start editing soon, and hopefully before too much longer, we'll get back to our regular schedule. And so finally, I guess the last thing to talk about here is the COPPA situation, which you probably have already heard has changed slightly. Basically, they being COPPA, released a blog post, basically, that explained a little bit more about what they're doing. And so, in their eyes, there is a difference between child-directed content and content that children might be interested in. So in the case of my channel and several other LEGO channels, including Jang and M&R and people like Joseph over there at BrickLifeCrisis, their channels, while they may be of interest to children, they're not directed at children. And so while it's still not totally safe, as long as you're not actively marketing to kids, then it seems like it isn't the end of the world. Depending on the sets that you're reviewing or how you present yourself, you may or may not be able to continue the way you're going as a creator. So at this point, as a cautionary measure, I've marked most of my past videos as made for kids because I want to play it safe, and I'm not terribly concerned about monetization. As I said before, I don't have the necessary subscriber count and viewership to make that a concern for me. So at this point, my goal is just to keep doing what I'm doing, and I plan to keep making videos. I may have to change up the schedule a little bit just due to work and time considerations. Some of you might recall that I was off work for quite some time because of a knee injury, but I am back at work now, and this is our busy time of year. So I'm hoping to get back to the 3-day-a-week schedule sooner than later, but for the short term, it's going to be a little bit hit or miss, but I will make videos as I can, and hopefully you will continue to come back and watch them. So anyway, that's been an update and a look at the calendars and the rest of that Death Star canon. So anyway, thanks for watching. Check in later for more videos, and until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye for now.